where best friends and next-door neighbors, Willow and Lillian, spill the tea on murder, mysteries, and other things that go bump in the night. So get your favorite teacup ready, and let's get into it. Welcome to Cruelty Podcast. This is Lillian, and with me is Maris.
Hello.
Though it is not Maris Monday.
What?
No.
What day is it?
Today's Wednesday.
What the hell?
Yeah, you're standing in for Willow.
I'm sitting.
Well, that's true. You are sitting. She's eepy and must nap. So, yeah, basically, this is Cult Month, Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. It's not going to be called that. I do not have a clever title for it this time, but this is where we cover cults and not good ones. Although I don't think there are any good cults.
There must be somewhere. Okay, maybe not.
Nope. And just as an aside, I won't chit-chat much, but I have jury duty tomorrow. So hopefully that doesn't interfere with our upload schedule. I'll try to make it not do that thing.
If it does, it does.
If it does, it does. I mean, I can't get out of it or jail.
Yeah.
And I don't want jail. But I doubt I'll get chosen because I'm probably just going to be like ACAB and all gothy and witchy and they'll tell me to fuck off.
Yeah.
So whatever. I'll do my civic duty if they want me to, but I'm not going to lie.
Right.
So today we're covering the cult of Angel's Landing.
Okay.
And this one...
Is this about fallen angels? Do they need a soft landing?
Well, there are some fallen angels in this.
Oh.
There's regular angel... Well, there's no actual angels because... No. But this is one of the weirdest cases I've ever looked into and one of the strangest cults. And it kind of reminds me... Well, I don't want to spoil it for you guys because this one kind of has some twists. But I do want to get the trigger warnings out of the way and do please heed them. We have trigger warnings for child sexual assault. Lots and lots of that. And
I was hoping for like an M. Night Shyamalan twist
no,
or something.
No, this is not I See Dead People.
Oh.
Well, kinda. Anyway.
There's got to be some ghosts in here, right?
There's no ghosts. And also for suicide. So if those things bother you and you can't handle them, you need to scoot. Here's where you scoot along.
Right.
And don't I'm not offended. You take care of you. So our story starts in 2001 with the Hudson family. Jennifer Hudson was happily married and had 2 daughters, Sarah, age 17, and Emily, 10. The family lived outside of Kansas City, Missouri. And I know that's confusing because we're going to be in both Kansas and Missouri in this story.
Yeah.
And there's a Kansas City, Kansas.
What the hell?
And a Kansas City, Missouri.
I know. They can't get their cities and states straight.
And I'm just mentioning it so we can all follow along because even as somebody researching it, it can get a little... So her husband, Jennifer, was a successful real estate agent and her husband was a real estate developer. Like he built houses. That's what he did. And frequently the houses she sold were the ones her husband, not husbands.
Sister wife, suddenly.
No, built. Both children were well adjusted and they were typical for their age. Sarah was just a normal teenager and was described as having a little bit of a rebellious streak. And Emily was a very good student. In interviews, she called herself a suck-up. And I can relate. I was also a suck-up in school until I was a teenager, and then my angst made that impossible. Were you a suck-up?
No, I did follow the rules, so I think that I could be seen that way. But I wasn't following the rules to please somebody.
No,
like
you just didn't
up.
want to get in trouble.
I just didn't want to be noticed, yeah.
So the Hudsons had a very typical suburban lifestyle. Jennifer is a real estate agent. It kind of made her like her own boss, right? Mm-hmm. So she could set her own hours. She kind of came, especially since she's selling properties her husband built. So that meant she was always home when her kids needed her.
Quite a racket they got going on.
I mean, that's a good combo.
Yeah.
I think it's a good team.
Yeah.
Like we're writers and artists, and they make way more.
Yeah. They make houses. I don't do that.
No, we make paintings and stuff. So they also sat down as a family for dinner every night. And that blows my mind because I have misophonia. And if I hear somebody chew, I'm going to punch them. So I eat by myself, and I've always
Right.
been kind of envious of the families that can like sit down together for
It's
dinner.
never a good experience.
It wasn't growing up. It was
No,
called.
no
I
one
called.
has a good time when you're forced to sit down and eat with your dad and your stupid brother.
It's just forced family fun, and I
Yeah,
didn't.
no.
No, thank
No.
you.
I'm going to eat in
But
front of the
you know
TV
what?
and watch
Right.
1,000-Pound Sisters.
Yeah. Well, you know what I was thinking of is that I am sure out there in the world, in the United States of America,
Uh-huh.
that there are families that sit down for dinner, and it's nice.
How do you even schedule that, you know?
I know, especially with
In America,
teenagers.
we have to have like 4 jobs.
I'm just saying, I'm sure at some point somewhere in this country, sitting down with your family was actually really nice and fun.
I guess a person can dream, huh?
Yeah. So in the summer of 2001, a man named Lou Castro came into their lives. Jennifer took him on as a real estate client.
Mr. Was it Fidel Castro?
No, not
that
Fidel.
guy.
He's dead.
Yeah, okay.
So, in addition to Lou, he brought with him some friends that were all wanted to buy a property together. He brought Trish and Brian Hughes. It was a married couple, and a woman who's known only by the initials KL.
You know something funky's going on.
Yeah, for sure. But here's the deal. So you're going to be like, why KL? Look, her name has never been publicly released, not even in court documents. I'm going to guess because this was a traumatic bad time and she doesn't want to be bothered. And we're not going to dig any further to respect her privacy. But yeah, they were all looking to buy a home together. Lou described the situation like they were just a bunch of hippie types looking to form a commune.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Looks like they were going to form a commune. But you know something fishy's going on.
Well, because we're talking about it on this show.
Yeah,
so, yes.
It's true. See, I'm psychic.
Yes, indeed you are.
Okay.
Just like Lou.
Whoa.
And I know lots of people, like, look, where we live in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. It is full of artists and musicians. We run into folks trying to make communes all the time. And inevitably, it always spirals into a weird sex cult situation.
Yes, it always does. That's why I said it was fishy, because we literally know. We didn't do it, though.
We tried. We kind of tried a commune thing in 2020, and it fell apart because everyone was
We didn't do
stupid.
that. We didn't do that.
We didn't have sex with anybody but
No.
each other, but still, it became a mess.
Yeah.
I just don't know how people can do it. I know there are some really successful communes, especially in Missouri, but I don't get
It's
it.
always turning into a cult thing.
Yeah. And I know lots of people have similar ideals. They want to live with their found family because their original family's poo. They want to just be free spirits and live amongst the nature and do as they please. I get the draw. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so did Jennifer. She was kind of fascinated by all of this.
Mm-hmm.
As she started to work with the group, she started falling under Lou's charm.
Uh-oh.
She became fascinated by him and what he stood for. She was seduced by his charisma, and not literally, at least I don't think so, because she was too old for him. Lou bragged about how rich he was from playing the stock market and that he owned a lot of cattle. And to Jennifer, he was not only successful, but kind and loving. The way he described how he wanted to live really appealed to her. And when, like, he had it to back up, like, his claims of being rich. He drove sports cars, ate at fancy restaurants, he dressed well. His demeanor was that of a more refined type of person. So he walked the walk and he talked the talk.
Okay, fine.
Because it's really important to note, and I want to stress this, when we talk about cults and people who get sucked into this sort of thing, I don't want to pass judgment on the victims of
I
this.
do. I mean, I love passing judgment.
Well, you're not allowed.
Oh.
I will strike you down.
Damn it.
Yes. Boy, strike you down. That was very dramatic.
It was, and I'm still going to judge whatever I want.
I would just edit the shit out. But the thing is I've never met Lou Castro. I don't know how charming it is.
Fidel's cousin, yeah.
No. Castro's a common last name, you...
They're all Fidel.
God damn, there is. Anyway, it's important to realize that sometimes in people's life, something's lacking or missing, and cults and cult of personality type people seem to be that missing piece. And it ends so horribly for her. I am not going to victim blame.
Fine, but I'll think it loudly.
You can think whatever you want.
Okay.
After meeting with him several times to go over real estate listings, Lou told Jennifer something shocking. He told her he was an angel and that he could see into the future. By this time, he had already wormed his way into her head. She was already captivated. And, I mean, I don't get it personally, but he was very soft-spoken.
Yeah.
Because, like, if I went up to you, any of you listening, and said, I'm an angel, by the way.
Yeah.
I also can see into the future and have many powers. You'd think I was nuts. But the way he said it so confidently, so calmly, he was very soft-spoken. She just believed him.
That he was touched by an angel.
He just was one. And part of what also kind of drew her in is that Trish, who was she was a very sweet young woman. She was very bubbly, very friendly. And this is his friend. She told Jennifer that she had witnessed his miracles. Mm. She had watched him bring an animal back from the dead.
It was just stunned.
Well, honey, of course, me and you don't, and we're from the future, we know that, of course, he's full of shit, and he's
one of them bad angels, because he's on the show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it does lend an air of credibility to Jennifer when his friends are like, yes, he can do this. I saw him. In addition...
I don't know how many red flags that is. That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a field of red flags.
Yeah.
In addition to being a 1,000-year-old angel, Lou knew when people would die. Lou also boasted that he could resurrect the dead. Mm-hmm. Lou claimed to have magical powers over the weather and even said that he was a descendant of Geronimo. That's a lot, man. That's a lot. Pick one.
That's an Indian chief, right?
Yeah.
I only know it from cartoons.
And Lou Castro is of Hispanic descent, so, I mean, he's brown, so I guess... Okay. I mean, that's the least sus of his claims. Still sus.
It's a whole list of sus complaint,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was very good at manipulating people and charming them. He was so friendly. People just liked him instantly. And that's how he drew people to him. He also driving around them sports cars, and he would just love bomb the literal shit out of them, buying them presents.
Would an angel drive a sports car? What kind of car would an angel drive? Like a fucking electric car?
I would think so.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is in the early 2000s.
Hearse? That'd be kind of cool. I don't know.
Oh, honey.
Yeah.
But anyway. Part of why this was so convincing for Jennifer is she was very, very spiritual and had kind of a lifelong love of angels. Like, she had the little figurines and stuff. And the idea of being a free spirit in a commune just really appealed to her. And I get it. I don't blame Jennifer. I just feel bad for her and the other people that Lou got to follow him, because it ends poorly for literally everyone involved.
Yeah, it's on the show once again.
Yes. Another thing that really appealed to Jennifer was the idea of found family. These people from all different walks of life came together to live on a commune focused on love and community, and maybe she felt that was lacking from her own life. Trish then invited Jennifer to join them, and it felt like being accepted into a special club. Like the popular kids' table at school.
These kids were not popular. I can promise you that.
Oh, not a one of them.
No.
The working relationship with Lou and the others started affecting other areas of Jennifer's life. It was causing problems in her marriage, which had once been stable and solid before. Her and her husband started fighting a lot. Jennifer found Lou and his commune a house in Missouri, but not long after they moved into that house, they moved again. And this is a kind of a pattern with the cult. They move around a lot because when you're, murdering people left and right, it's not a good idea to stay in one place.
What kind of fucking angel is this?
Not a good one.
Yeah.
At any rate, Jennifer's marriage soon failed after this, and they divorced.
Oh.
Lou and his friends moved to Kansas on a 10-acre property just south of Wichita. Once more, she was invited to be with them, and this time, she accepted.
Don't do it.
Oh.
Don't do it.
Yeah. In the fall of 2002, Jennifer decided to join the group at Angel's Landing. That's what they named the property. What she did was that she bought a house with 10 acres that was adjoining Angel's Landing, and eventually a third house was built on the now 20-acre commune.
It's big, yeah.
Yes, and these are beautiful homes, by the way. Tons of sports cars. The exact number of cult members was never made public knowledge. And many of the cult members wish to remain anonymous to this day, so I can't tell you how many people were living there. I don't know.
Not even a ballpark or anything?
I mean, I know the core group of Trish, Brian, KL, Jennifer, her 2 daughters, Trisha's daughter, who was kind of a baby at this time.
Yeah.
And there were people in and out of there all the time.
So maybe like 2050?
I wouldn't go that far. I
No?
think more like 10 to 15.
Gotcha.
But like they would gain members, lose members. It happened frequently. So there's just kind of there's no information on that. So, yeah, Lou ramped up his wild stories too, claiming to be possessed by 3 additional angel spirits.
Mm-hmm.
These were named Amber, Arthur, and Daniel. Those don't sound very...
Those are not angel names. Get out of here.
All right, Maris, since you're Catholic, or you were, you're not anymore, I'm sure they've kicked
like
you
the
out.
normalist is Michael, but like...
Give me some angel names.
Well, there's like Uriel.
Yeah.
And there's Raphael.
Yeah.
And Gabriel. There's a lot of eels, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ariel, I think, is one from Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Sandalophone. Yeah, Sandalophone is one.
That's a weird one.
Yeah.
Metatron.
Yeah. That's a Tron. That's not even an eel.
That's a Tron.
Right?
Yeah.
But you can't tell me Amber. Like that is not.
That's a girl's name.
That's
from the
just
90s.
a human name. That's not an angel name.
Anyway, Arthur was a bad angel, a fallen angel.
Yeah, that guy's a dick.
Daniel was an angel of goodness and mercy, and Amber was the angel of death.
Really? Amber, the angel of death?
Yeah, it's very edgy.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that Azrael?
Yeah.
Is the angel of death?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, Amber would come out when Lou would get one of his visions. In these visions, he would see when someone was going to die, or when he was low on money and needed insurance money. He would channel Amber when that person's time of death got close and put a pin in that, because it's not a vision if you just straight up kill them.
Hey, yeah, no.
That's just you plotting it. It's not a vision. Anyway, here are our main players. Trish was Lou's second in command. She was a former lover and had been friends with Lou for many years. She was a very jovial person with a good sense of humor. Brian was her husband and was described as just a super nice guy, hard worker. KL met Lou in North Dakota in 1996 when she was only 15. Lou was 46 when he met KL, but had been dishonest about his age. He'd said he was much younger, and then they formed a romantic relationship. Now, let's be clear. You can't have a romantic relationship with a 15-year-old when you're 46.
Yeah, no.
That is child sexual assault.
Yeah.
A 15-year-old is a child who cannot consent.
Yeah.
He groomed her and abused her.
Yeah.
By the time Jennifer and her daughters moved to Angel's Landing, that relationship had ended. I mean, kind of. He was still assaulting her.
Yeah.
Life at the commune wasn't all roses right away at all. Jennifer's daughters did
Or
not
ever.
want to be there.
Yeah.
Especially Sarah. Sarah had been very close with her father and didn't like Lou. Sarah also blamed Jennifer for the divorce and resented her for it, and rightly so, in all honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Emily had some misgivings too, but being only 10 at the time, she was easier to win over and quickly became Lou's favorite.
Mm.
Lou tried to win over the girls by buying them things. Remember, he'd claimed to be rich, and he flaunted his wealth by buying things for his found family. He drove expensive cars, had an ATV track built around the compound, and a huge swimming pool. He bought Jennifer's daughters literally anything they wanted. They had only but to ask, and Emily loved horses, so he bought her 3.
Wow.
He also threw really wild parties in which he would focus all his attention on the young girls and their friends. He was so charming, so engaging. He regaled them with wild stories. He love-bombed and charmed these girls. However, a lot of the young people that came to Angel's Landing to these parties avoided him because they thought he was creepy.
Yeah, for real. I think
because
it's creepy.
he is.
Yeah.
Emily came around first. She was younger, more impressionable, and Lou gave her lots of attention. Sarah took longer, but he eventually won her over too. She was treated like a princess and given whatever she wanted. Lou made her mother, Jennifer, really happy too, and everyone in the commune seemed to love him. Jennifer, once she'd moved out to Angel's Landing, had to get a job, so she chose to be a real estate agent again, but this time she had quite a drive because they're out in the country, and her hours were far more rigorous and much longer, and she wasn't around nearly even half as much as she used to be. But one of the cool things about living in a commune is the free childcare. Trish offered to watch the girls for Jennifer and became like a second mother to them. So for a while, it was one big happy family. from the outside. But behind closed doors, more sinister things were happening. After all the fun parties and games, all the material possessions that Lou love-bombed Jennifer's daughters with, he was abusing Emily. He started right away as soon as she moved in, and he'd earned her affection and trust. He manipulated her further by telling Emily that the only way he could survive and stay alive in a human body as a 1,000-year-old angel was that he had to have sex with very young girls.
I don't... when you look up angels, they're supposed to be nice,
They're supposed to be sexless.
Yeah, right? Like, I've seen Dogma.
They don't have parts.
Right?
I mean, it even says that somewhere, I think.
Right, yeah.
At the very least, it's angels
very sus.
don't touch people.
Your angel behavior is not very angelic.
No. And he told her, that if she loved him, she would submit to whatever he wanted to do to her, just so he could stay alive. And I think that is so sick and fucked up that I can hardly stand it.
Yeah, ugh.
Only a handful of weeks after Jennifer moved out there with her daughters, Emily was sharing a bed with Lou every single night.
Nope.
This torture and abuse would go on for many years. At first, Emily didn't even consider it abuse. She just saw it as her duty, her way of keeping Lou alive. Deep down, it bothered her, but she thought it was some sort of fault in herself, not in Lou. I just feel so bad for her.
Yeah.
And I've listened to all of her interviews. I'm going to link some. I'm going to link the Dateline episode about this. It's really rough. Emily wasn't the only child he'd abused. He'd set his sights on her sister Sarah, too, but it took him longer to win her over. But once he did, he told her she was broken on the inside, and only by sleeping with him and allowing him to molest her would she be able to have a family and children of her own one day.
Nope,
only sex with him would fix her.
No, barf, barf, barf.
Lou was able to assure her silence, because he told her if she ever told, something terrible would happen to her father. And remember, she's kind of a daddy's girl. It really scared her.
Yeah.
And while he was no longer in a committed relationship with KL, he was still abusing her. Sometimes he would force KL and Sarah to do things with each other via threats and manipulation. Lou also had issues with alcohol. He would get drunk, wake all three girls up in the wee hours of the morning, put his hands around their throats, threaten and yell at them, then force them all into his bedroom where he would assault them.
Yeah, once again, not very angel-like.
Lou called this feeding.
Oh, no.
He would call his abuse feeding, as in it fed the angels inside him with their energy or some such ridiculous shit.
Yep, this is the wrong angels. These are the bad ones.
He was particularly abusive towards Sarah. In addition to assaulting her, he would belittle her, ruin her confidence in herself. He would also physically assault the girls, Sarah in particular. Like, he'd hit them. Lou would pit the sisters against each other, too, trying to make them jealous by giving one more attention than the other. And this nearly ruined Sarah and Emily's relationship multiple times. The other members of Angel's Landing claimed later, the ones left alive anyway, that to this day they had no idea all this sexual abuse was going on, and I find this very fucking hard to believe.
Right.
Especially with Jennifer. And I'm not going to victim blame too much, but I cannot imagine any world in which I would let my 10-year-old child sleep in a bed with a 46-year-old man.
Never.
Well, actually, he was much older. He was like 48, 49 by that time.
Still.
Who I didn't know very well. Why would she... I just don't get it. And I know brainwashing happens. They're all brainwashed. I get that.
Right.
But it just blows my mind. You mean to tell me there were no signs? And as we go through this story, I want you to pay close attention to Trish and her involvement in all of this. Now, the time the events take place, Trish is 26 years old. Still very young, but old enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you don't know much about her background or anything? Like, maybe there's a reason that she's
I don't know much about any of these people's backgrounds.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when the story is told and people are interviewed, it's really a focus on the cult itself.
Yeah, but there's got to, when you get sucked into a cult, there's got to be something from your background that made you susceptible to such things, you know?
You know, there are a lot
of course, like law enforcement, like why isn't any... I know it's because they don't fucking care. But...
No. This is different with law enforcement this time. We'll get to that here in just a minute, because they get suspicious of him pretty early on.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people get sideways of Jennifer for letting her 10-year-old sleep in a man's bed, and I just don't understand. I agree. People in the area started getting suspicious. Lou is driving around in these fancy cars, living in a commune with all these people, these nice houses, swimming pools, parties. He always seems to have lots of money, but no job. This eventually caught the notice of Detective Goodwin. Detective Goodwin was a narcotics officer. That was his department. Wealth without a job is a pretty good sign of drug trafficking.
Okay.
So Goodwin checked Lou's background, and nothing. Literally nothing. Like
I
he
mean,
didn't
inheritance.
exist.
I thought to ask earlier, but
No.
then, okay.
There's nothing. He has no record, no background. It's like the man doesn't exist.
Hmm.
The houses and cars were not in Lou's name. He just simply had no records at all.
A con man?
Well, obviously.
Yeah.
Almost like Lou Castro wasn't his real name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, I figured it out.
Because it wasn't. It was an alias he used, naturally. Instead, the houses and cars were registered under the names of the cult members like Trish and Jennifer and Brian.
Okay, yeah.
Detective Goodwin wouldn't be deterred, though. The fact that he had no record made Lou even more suspicious, and the detective was like a dog with a bone. He was determined to find out who this man really was and what he was really up to on that 20-acre property. A couple of years into Jennifer and her daughters living at Angel's Landing, there was a horrible accident. On the day of the incident, Lou, Jennifer, and her daughters, and Trish and her daughter all went into town to eat lunch together. When they returned, Trish and Emily had plans on cleaning the pool, while Lou and Sarah were getting ready to go back into town because Lou was going to buy Sarah a car. Lou and Sarah left to go to the car dealership. While at the dealership, Sarah gets a cell phone call from Emily, who is absolutely hysterical. Trish, while trying to clean the pool, had a terrible accident. Lou and Sarah headed back immediately, and when they arrived, police and the fire department were already there. What had happened was, Trish's daughter had fallen into the pool, and she's just like a toddler. She's like 2 years old.
Okay.
Naturally, Trish then tried to dive in to save her, but she slipped, hit her head, and fell into the water.
Oh, no.
And she was unconscious.
Oh,
Now,
no.
poor little Emily's only 10, 11 years old at this time. She jumped in after them. She was able to get the little girl out of the pool, but she wasn't able to lift Trish out of the water. And as a result, Trish drowned at the age of 26.
Oh.
Her death was ruled an accident.
Yeah.
But was it? No!
Oh, dear.
Lou had planned this and used 11-year-old Emily to help him murder Trish.
Wow.
He knew no one would question an innocent child. A week before Trish's death, Lou had begun to plan it. He had approached Trish one night and told her he'd had one of his visions. He told her she was going to die soon. He also said he couldn't be around when she died because it would drain his powers of seeing into the future or whatever. The day that Trish died, he took everyone to lunch and then commanded Trish and Emily to clean the pool when they got back to Angel's Landing. When they arrived back, he told Sarah to go get ready so that they could go to the car dealership to buy her a new car.
So he has an alibi.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He took this short period of time to go to the pool where
And
Emily...
grease it up or something?
No.
Yeah.
To where Emily, Trish, and Trish's daughter were. Lou took Emily aside and told her that it was now Trish's time to die. There was a small building right next to the pool that housed pool chemicals and stuff of that nature. Lou instructed Emily to take Trish's daughter into the building and wait until he came and got her. Now, what's weird about this is Trish knew exactly what was going to happen. Emily, before going into the pool house, was so upset. She was crying. She wanted to give Trish a hug. And Trish told her that everything would be fine because Lou would bring her back from the dead. And she'd be healthy and happy and better than ever.
Wow.
Emily finally obeyed and went into the pool house with Trish's toddler. As she's waiting there, after a few moments, she hears a loud splash and then a scream. What Emily couldn't see is that Lou hit Trish in the head with an unknown object, which knocked her into the pool, and he then held her underwater until she drowned.
Yeah.
Lou then went into the pool house where Emily and Trish's daughter were. He, according to Emily, was wet. He looked upset and out of breath. He told Emily to wait for about 20 minutes, then take herself and the toddler, get into the pool, so that when police showed up after she called them, both girls would be wet, thus her story about,
Yeah,
would make
the
sense.
slip makes it like a sense, yeah.
Because, listen, I will give this guy this much, as he does kind of think of everything.
it's awful. Stop thinking of everything. Stop thinking of things. Just cut
stop
it out.
thinking.
Just stop doing it.
Yeah. And thinking about this, I'm just so disturbed because Emily and Trish's toddler had to get into the pool with Trish's body
I was thinking
floating
that
there.
too, and it's awful. Yeah,
I can't imagine how traumatizing it was for both of them.
No, it's awful.
Emily did as instructed to the letter. She called police and then called Sarah. And if Lou had stopped there, we probably wouldn't be talking about this case.
Yeah.
Later, Lou would tell Emily that he used his angel powers to, quote, bend time. Lou told her that this meant that she wasn't even at the pool when Trish died because of his time powers, so she didn't need to be sad about it.
Uh-huh.
Trish's family lived in South Texas, and that's where her funeral would be held. Lou was the only cult member that did not attend her funeral, even though they'd been friends for years and over a decade.
Yeah.
He instructed the others who were going to Trish's funeral not to tell anyone there that he was living in Kansas, and it's clear from his instructions he was hiding from something in Texas.
Yeah.
So put a pin in that, because we circling back later.
Mm-hmm.
To no one's surprise, Lou cashed in on a $1 million life insurance policy that Trish had.
Mm-hmm.
Not her husband, not her kid,
Yeah.
but Lou. And that makes you wonder then if this was always how he got his money. And you would wonder correctly. When
Okay.
Lou ran out of money, a member of the cult died for the insurance.
Wow.
Of which Lou was usually the beneficiary of, but sometimes another member would be, but he got the money.
Okay.
It wasn't the first time Lou used an accident to get the insurance money. Right before Jennifer and her daughters moved to Angel's Landing, 2 members of the cult died tragically in a plane crash. Mona Griffith became close friends with Trish in the 90s when the cult was living in South Texas. Mona was a single mom with 2 kids who had just gone through a really terrible, messy divorce, and as a result, she kind of wasn't able to pay her bills or pay for anywhere to live. She was out on her own. She would have been put on the street.
Mm-hmm.
And Trish was used especially to kind of befriend her, and they took the family in. So they became members of the cult.
No.
In 1998, Lou and Trish decided to move to South Dakota. Again, this is common. They moved around a lot. Mona wanted to come too, but had to leave her son behind because he vehemently didn't want to go.
Right.
And that probably saved his life.
Yeah.
Instead, he went to live with his dad while Mona and her daughter traveled to South Dakota to be with Trish and Lou. There, they lived in a small house in the mountains, and of course, it's likely that Lou abused Mona's daughter, according to later court documents and witness testimony.
Yeah. I mean, that's something else like the sister wives. They be moving around a lot.
Yeah.
If you got something to hide, move around a lot.
Start moving.
Yeah, okay.
Mona ended up meeting a man named James Chase, and the 2 of them started a romantic relationship, and this would be her doom. Because remember, Lou wants all these people under his thumb. If he doesn't approve of it, it ain't happening. And I don't think he approved of this relationship.
No.
Mona, her daughter, and James in February of 2001 boarded a small plane to take a trip to Nebraska. James was an experienced pilot, and this trip should have been easy for him.
Mm-hmm.
But they never arrived at their destination and went missing. When Mona's family was informed that she and her daughter were missing, they all came to South Dakota to search for her.
Right.
It was like she vanished into thin air.
Right.
Lou would show up to help with the search frequently. In the beginning, he was very welcome there. He was calm, soft-spoken, very kind, often breaking the tension with his sense of humor. After some time passed, Mona's sisters especially just kind of thought he was a big fucking creep.
Yeah.
Because at these gatherings, Lindsay, and that's Mona's daughter, she's a young kid. She was like 6 or 7, maybe 9. Like, I got different sources saying different things. But she had her school friends there at these search parties to look for them. And all the little girls were always around Lou. He was always taking them off to the side. You know what I'm saying? They found it creepy as shit.
Yeah, right.
They never talked about Mona, these little girls, either, only about Lou. So that bothered them, too.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, kids don't want to spend time with adults.
No,
I never
and
fucking
like
did.
as an adult, I don't want to hang out with kids. They
Never.
fucking suck and are annoying.
They do. They eat their boogers and they're sticky. Go away.
Yeah, they're always talking about stupid video games or something. I
Oh,
don't
I
know.
thought I made some in
Their
Minecraft. I do not
YouTubes.
care. Go away.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
A couple of weeks after James, Mona, and her daughter went missing, the wreckage of their plane was found, along with their remains. Trish and Lou weirdly made all the decisions about where Mona and her daughter would be buried, their funeral arrangements, things the family should have taken care of.
Right.
And of course, there was the insurance money, $700,000.
Wow.
Lou even wrote Mona's obituary. I don't know why that bugged me so much, but it does.
Yeah, well, it's because he gets the final say, and he shouldn't.
He listed himself as Mona's brother, and I will put a pin in that because that's his undoing.
Oh,
right there.
Good.
Obviously, Mona's family didn't like that and found it weird. Lou also made strange comments about Lindsay, Mona's daughter. He told Mona's family that Lindsay just wasn't supposed to die, and had she not gotten on the plane that day, he'd have taken her in as his own daughter and raised her.
Nope.
And they were like, why the fuck would you say it? We'd take her. She's our family.
Right.
They were pissed.
Weird, like, what do you call it? Like narcissism or something? Like, what?
Just
why would you think that? Like, if you're trying to hide something and get away with it, why would you be acting like that? It's so weird.
It is weird. But, I mean, it worked for him, though. Repeatedly.
I wish I was a great mouse detective, because I'd be like, hey, no.
No. Trish was the beneficiary of Mona's life insurance, but we all know the money went to Lou. And it does make you wonder every time this happens where Trish seems tangentially involved. I think she was just as guilty as he was. By the end of this research, I absolutely think she orchestrated this with him. That she was in 100%, that she believed he was a 1,000-year-old angel with powers, 100% she believed it.
And because these cult members are so tight-lipped, too.
Oh, yes, they are.
Yeah.
So, the plane crash bugged me. It was determined to be an accident, likely due to instrument failure and weather.
There's too many convenient things.
There's too many corpses. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And later we'll get a little piece of info that seals it for me. I think he killed these people.
I agree. Like, I know that, I mean, maybe they just crashed their plane because planes is dangerous or something. But, like, it's just too many accidents.
Yeah, and there's going to be more. Don't worry.
Nope.
So remember Detective Goodwin?
Yeah, he was like suspicious, and he should be more suspicious.
Well, after Trish's death, he got even more suspicious
Good.
of Lou.
Yeah.
He Googled his name and found that obituary where Lou called himself Mona's brother. Seeing that Lou was tangentially involved in another tragic accident, Goodwin was more determined than ever to find his true identity. So this man went to so much fucking trouble.
Okay.
So first he went through the trash at Angel's Landing to get fingerprints.
Good job, Gumshoe, yeah.
No dice.
Yeah, no.
He staked Lou out at a restaurant and collected his silverware and plates. Not one single fingerprint.
Is he really an angel?
No.
Oh.
He's very clever.
Okay.
So then Goodwin went to Angel's Landing under the pretense that he was investigating the theft of luxury cars in the area. And he wanted to come talk to Lou because he had so many luxury cars, kind of wanted to give him a heads up. He's like, if you're in the market to buy cars, have you seen any of these?
Will you spit into this cup, sir?
No. What he did was he handed him some very glossy photographs of luxury cars that he claimed had been stolen.
So you could get the fingerprint.
But Lou only touched the photographs at the very edges with the very tips of his fingers.
Oh my God.
And later witnesses would say he wiped down everything he fucking touched.
But okay, so you go to that much trouble, but then you start like getting all this insurance and say, you know what I mean?
If he had stopped with Trish, he'd be a free man right now. But he doesn't. Okay. And he was like, no, I ain't seen none of these cars. Bye. Goodwin even brought in the FBI, and you know the fucking local cops hate doing that shit.
Right, get on it, Scully and Mulder.
But they too failed to dig up any information on Lou Castro and kind of let it go.
Oh, come on.
The FBI is just as shitty as the rest of them. I wanted to be in the FBI.
Believe.
I want to believe too, but they can fuck off.
Yeah.
3 years after Trish's death, another tragedy would strike Angel's Landing. Another cult member would die in a tragic accident. And this time it was Brian Hughes, Trish's husband. Brian was a diesel mechanic, and he was always up under cars, on his back, fixing them.
He got squished, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And this is dangerous. In fact, my uncle was doing something similar when an engine fell on his leg, and he was trapped under his car for hours and nearly died. But don't feel too bad. My uncle sucks.
Okay.
And maybe an occult himself.
Oh.
Anyway, Brian was a very safety-conscious guy and knew the risks. He was always very careful when working on these big vehicles. On March 2nd, 2006, Brian Hughes was crushed to death when a jack failed and he was crushed.
Yep, too many accidents. Come on.
But this is while he was visiting family in Rapid City, South Dakota. Remember, the cult used to be stationed there, and then they moved to Kansas and Missouri and all them bullshits. So normally, when Brian was working on cars, he would put the car up on cinder blocks while he used a jack for extra safety.
Okay.
This time, there were no cinder blocks under the car. He had 2 life insurance policies totaling $1 million that named a group member of the cult as a beneficiary. His will left nothing to Trisha's daughter, but designated Jennifer Hudson as her guardian, meaning he made Jennifer his daughter's guardian in the event of his death. Now, Lou was obviously in Kansas when Brian died, though a cult member would later say that he said he didn't expect Brian to ever return, which is not at all ominous.
Right.
And of course, Jennifer getting that money meant it was really Lou getting the $1 million life insurance policy. After Trish had died, Brian had been struggling with depression and grief. And Lou was always there to encourage him to die.
Wow.
He said that crossing over peacefully was always the goal.
Well, it was Amber, the angel of death?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, my name's Amber, and I'm the angel of death.
Shout out to all of our Amber teammates.
Look, we have
a good friend.
A friend who listens to the podcast, and her name is Amber, and she's on our Discord. I ain't making fun of you. You're a doll.
No.
And I love you.
I just like the idea of angel of death, Amber.
And she's popping her gum and twirling her hair.
Right.
She's like, oh my God.
It's like angel of death, Jeff.
My name's Jeff, and I'm the angel of death.
Yeah, I would love it if that was my angel of death. It's just Jeff.
Anyway, cult members started to think that Lou was somehow, someway responsible for Brian's death. The truth is that Lou convinced Brian to kill himself and make it look like an accident, just as he'd convinced Trish to be okay with him murdering her. Brian called his daughter only an hour before his death to tell her goodbye. There's no real information on Brian and Trish's daughter. It is believed, however, that she stayed on at Angel's Landing, which is just terrible, and was likely abused by Lou.
And accident prone.
Yeah. Whose behavior after Brian's death became even more and more violent and unhinged, especially when he was drunk. He grew more paranoid, more abusive. He would rape Sarah as punishment. He told his followers that he could send them to purgatory with his angel powers. Ugh. And everyone was afraid of him. Lou would tell them that the angels inside him were responsible for all this horrific behavior, not him.
Well, how is that good? Like, come on, guys. Like, how is that good?
In 2008, Lou started running out of money again. Now, Amber, the angel of death, would make a comeback, and he would have another vision. He went to Sarah and Emily and told the girls that he'd had a vision, and now it was time for their mother, Jennifer, to die. Emily and Sarah immediately just begged and cried and pleaded for mercy to tell him, no, don't do that.
Right.
But he wasn't moved. They went to their mother and they were like, we gotta go.
Yeah.
Because they kind of at this point weren't really buying it.
Yeah.
And because they're growing up now, you know? But Jennifer reassured them. She's like, no, I'm not dying. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. They said she seemed cheerful and peaceful. And that should have been a red flag. Only a short time after Lou's vision, Jennifer was driving down a country road and she rammed into a gravel truck at a high rate of speed, killing her instantly. Yeah. Witnesses to this horrific accident said that it looked as though Jennifer had swerved into the truck on purpose and hadn't even applied her brakes.
Wow.
Lou had convinced her, just as he'd convinced Trish and Brian, to take her own life.
Yeah.
And once more, he just rolled in that insurance money. In 2009, with a trail of death behind him, Lou determined it was time for the cult to move. They packed up and headed to Tennessee. Sarah refused to go. She was 24 by this time and didn't want to move that far away from her dad. However, Emily, who was 17, went with Lou.
Oh, no.
And I don't understand why her fucking father didn't try to prevent this shit.
Yeah, right?
He's not winning Dad of the Year, that's for sure.
No.
They moved into a big farmhouse in Columbia, Tennessee. Sarah was at last free from Lou's influence and started being a person with a life again.
Yay.
And she ended up dating a young man named Daniel. And they just like fell in love, and she trusted him.
Mm-hmm.
And so she told him every horrible thing that had happened to her
Oh, yeah.
at Angel's Landing. And he was just like, oh my fucking God, he's killing people.
Yeah.
He was more than disturbed. He couldn't get it out of his head, and he worried about Sarah's sister, Emily.
Uh-huh.
He worried about Sarah and anybody associated with, Lou. And so, without telling Sarah, because he didn't want to upset her, he wrote a letter to the FBI.
Oh, good.
And told them everything Sarah had told him.
Yeah.
All the strange accidents, all of the abuse, the sexual assault, the rape, all of it.
Right.
He also told the FBI where Lou had moved.
Yep. Cool.
Finally, the FBI had a little more to go on, and they reopened the case. They started surveillance on the house in Tennessee, and there they saw a vehicle that was always at the house. And that car was registered to a man named Joe Venegas.
Okay.
The FBI believed that this was another alias of Lou's. And so they kind of tracked him. They saw him go into a local bank there. And so they wanted to know if this Joe Venegas had an account there. The bank said yes. Mm-hmm. So they wanted the CCTV footage of the day this Joe Venegas had opened an account in that bank.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, when they get the CCTV footage, it's Lou and Emily opening the account.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is fraud.
Yeah.
And so they arrest him in April of 2010.
Good.
Running his fingerprints, fucking nothing comes up.
Wow.
The FBI knows he's not Joe Venegas.
Uh-huh.
They know he's probably not Lou Castro either.
Right.
But during this part of the investigation, they just have no fucking clue who he is. They interrogated him on that alone for 6 hours, and he never cracked.
Wow.
So Lou was booked under the name John Doe, and he pled guilty to identity fraud and was sentenced to 2 years in prison. So the FBI has 2 years to figure out who the fuck this guy is.
Okay.
They got him in jail. He can't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. So that's how much time they had to get all the evidence they needed to put him away for fucking ever.
Okay.
The FBI tracked down Trish's family, and they lived in a town kind of a little to the north of Corpus Christi, Texas. Uh-huh. And remember, that's where they met, Trish and Lou.
Okay.
And they spoke to Trish's sister, and they're like, give me your sister's life story. All of it. We need to find who this guy is.
Right.
And she gives them a little piece of information that blows this case wide open.
What is it?
She told investigators that Trish had once dated a man named Daniel Perez when she lived in Corpus Christi, but he had passed away in the mid-90s. Mm-hmm. So investigators then call for vital records, and instead of a death certificate, they get a mugshot of Daniel Perez, and it is Lou Castro.
So he is Lou Castro?
No.
Oh, okay.
He's Daniel Perez. That's his real name.
Okay.
Yeah. He had no real past. I mean, very scant. He didn't really have family to speak of in the area. He'd been born in Texas and had been a plane mechanic in the military.
Okay.
Remember the plane crash?
Oh, yeah.
He did it. He tampered with that fucking plane. God damn, this guy.
This Amber.
He did have a record. He had pled no contest to sexual assault of 2 minor girls, but the charges were thrown out because it was said that Daniel Perez had gone to Mexico and died after being beaten to death by a gang of men. But that didn't happen.
No.
Daniel Perez had faked his death
and
left Texas with Trish and changed his name to Lou Castro.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to tell y'all right now, the amount of fucking digging, I spent an hour and a half digging for how precisely this cunt faked his death.
Yeah.
And I do not know. It is never said in any of the court documents, and I wasn't going to shift through all of them. This was 28
is a weird
charges.
Guy.
It's like he did have some kind of power. Do you know what I mean? Not
yeah,
angel
because,
powers.
like, if you're going to go, well, even that, like, if you're going to go around, like, I don't know, just making shit up, like, that's a weird thing to make up.
It's real weird. And he was so good at convincing people to kill themselves.
Yeah. And like, it seems like he would tell them ahead of time, and they're like, yeah, it is my time to die, you know?
He would, and that's exactly their reaction.
And, yeah.
It's really mind-boggling.
Yes, it is.
So, and I went and listened to a lot of...
I just think maybe, like, the victims were in some kind of trauma in their past or something.
Who knows? But I will tell you, I've listened to some of them talk in interviews. They said his eyes would go all black when he was channeling Amber, the angel of death. As cringy as that sounds, they were convinced that he had supernatural abilities.
Is he some kind of anime?
I know it is edgy, and we laugh.
Is he an Evangelion? I don't understand.
I have heard of like serial killers and stuff where people have said their eyes go black, and there's something to it. And I don't want to get supernatural on this. Well, or anything.
We know from Maris Mondays there is like black-eyed children and such.
Well, it's a denotion, like of evil.
Uh-huh.
But, I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't want to get supernatural with this because that's not what this part of the podcast is about. But I'm just putting it out there that that's what witnesses who experienced this man said.
Yeah.
So leave it at that.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's just wild to me.
Yeah.
Without Lou having a tight grip over the cult, the members started talking to investigators. Sarah told them everything, all the abuse, the mysterious accidents and deaths. She even relayed a story, and this is so terrible, but I'm going to tell it because these are her words and she should be heard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that he often forced her to do terrible things under threat of death or death to her family, especially her father. And once he threatened to kill her father if she wouldn't videotape an 8-year-old girl undressing.
Yeah.
And she did this, but then he was enraged because she didn't do it right, according to him, and he made her do it again. Ugh. And so this poor girl has so much guilt.
Right.
I just can't imagine. I feel so... And these are just really sweet girls. They were just... I don't know. They were so normal and so happy before all this. Mm-hmm. It just really breaks my heart. I hate it.
Yeah, it's gross.
I hate it. It's so gross. Emily wasn't talking. She had been completely brainwashed at this point. And so she had written a letter to Lou in jail telling him, I'm doing so good. I think I have a bright future. Don't worry about me. Mm-hmm. And he sent, I don't know what he said, but he sent back a nasty response. He wasn't happy for her.
What an asshole.
But But that turned her against him completely, and she went to investigators, and she told them everything.
Good.
And she told them that Trish's death was no accident.
Yeah.
At last, they could charge Lou with all sorts of fun things, including child sexual assault and murder.
Good.
28 charges in total.
Yeah.
Now, they only charged him with Trish's murder. How the fuck are they supposed to charge him in that plane crash? You know what I mean? I do think he absolutely had something to do with it.
I don't know. Could you investigate the rubble for tampering?
I don't think they had it anymore. It'd been a long time.
I mean, that's the only thing I could think of.
It had been at least 5 years.
Yeah.
5 or 6 years at this. No, even longer. Because
you could still get plane crash remnants. That's still.
I doubt it. And that it's just iffy footing. And losing one of the charges might mean kind of a domino effect of losing the rest. Mm-hmm. They didn't charge him for Brian's death because Brian killed himself.
Yeah. But you can. Well, I don't know if there's any evidence, but I think you can get in trouble if you convince somebody to do it.
But they only went after him over Trish's death because they had a literal eyewitness, and this would be enough to put him away forever.
Yeah.
Lou took the stand in his own defense.
Oh, crazy
and he made up a bunch of stories about he really thought that he was Lou Castro because Trish made him believe it, that men had beaten him up, but he'd gotten amnesia and thus didn't remember that he was ever Daniel Perez. Even after extensive research, I don't understand because he's so clever in planning all these things.
Yeah, that he does some bonehead shit.
I think it's just the narcissism.
Yeah, this definitely screams of that.
Just the narcissism.
For sure. I mean, I'm a doctor, so you have to listen to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doctor of what? Bullshit?
Yes, Dr. Bullshit. That's me.
So he also said on the stand, he never said he had powers and that Emily and Sarah were just children that made that all up. And he said that he'd never abused them as children, but had consensual sex with them when they were of age.
There's no such thing with the children.
Well, he said they were of age. They were 18 when he...
Barf,
but fucking Emily was 17.
Right.
So nobody believed that or anything he said. And in February of 2015, at the age of 55, he was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to 2 life sentences.
Good.
Without being eligible for
that
parole.
That counts for your angel lives.
Yeah. Without being eligible for parole for 80 years. So never.
Never.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Fuck you, guy.
He is now serving his sentence at Lansing Correctional Facility in Kansas.
See, that's confusing because Lansing is in Michigan, and we go back to there was Missouri. And
I know.
Yeah.
It's Kansas. That's where Trish was murdered. That's why the charges were brought there. That's why he's serving the sentence there.
Yeah, well, fuck you, guy.
Absolutely giant piece of shit, and I hope you burn in hell.
Yeah, you should meet all your angel friends.
The bad ones, clearly.
Yeah.
Amber, too.
Amber, yeah.
The fucking...
Slutty angel. Amber.
Stop it right now. I apologize for my spouse. He is smooth of brain and dumb of ass.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, so before we go have some business time, Willow is covering the Children of God cult towards the ends of the month. I can't talk. Several of you have reached out to her already and said you were part of this cult and wanted to talk about it. Wow. If you would still like to speak about your experience, Willow's contact information will be in the description of this podcast.
That's crazy.
Please get in touch with her.
Yeah.
So now it's business time.
Business time.
It's business time.
Wow, we can
I
sing
don't
about
want
it.
to... What?
We can sing about it.
Well, I was trying, but you interrupted me.
I did, yeah.
All right, so you can't get enough of cults. They're on our Patreon, too. If you become a member of, and that's the Tea, which is our $1 tier, you can hear all about how Celestial Seasonings, the Sleepy Time Tea people, are a cult. And they're bad.
Whoa.
It's like eugenics.
We better drink some different tea.
And aliens. There's a lot of... Since I found out, I ain't bought that shit.
Yeah, and also this is cruelty, so like...
I make my own tea blends, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the rest of my business. Join our Patreon. Man, it's really bumping in there lately. We got a lot of new members. Thank you so much for your support. It means the world. It means I can continue to do this podcast.
Yeah.
Every patron we get means more time I can dedicate to the podcast. I'd like to make it my full-time dedication.
Yeah.
And I think that the research could be better and all that stuff. So if you want to support the podcast, that is the best way to do it. And it comes with benefits.
Yeah.
We do anywhere from 3 to 4 full-length additional episodes on Patreon. We also do little 15-minute, and that's the Tea. There's like our short cases that I run into so many that don't have enough information to do a full episode.
It's a crime bite.
It's a crime bite.
Yeah. Bite.
And although the Celestial Seasonings cult one doesn't necessarily have any crime, it should be a crime.
Yeah.
To say that dumb shit. Aliens and eugenics. Get out of here.
Wow.
Just make tea and shut the fuck up.
Right. Just give me that chamomile.
And I liked that fucking tea, too. I'm so pissed. Anyway, we have all kinds of different membership levels, all different kinds of perks. Go on over there and check it out. If you want to find that link, it says support this show in the description. You click on it, and you'll go right there. In addition, Maris has a new podcast.
It's Reality, where
What's
I watch...
about?
Well, I watch a reality TV show, and then I cover it.
And we're mean.
Well,
snarky
about it.
Kinda
and
nice.
currently, I am doing the latest season of The Sister Wife. There's only one, so the Sister Wife.
Only one, like it was a wife Thunderdome, and
It
only
was a wife, like
four
entered,
wife enter, one wife leave,
and that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, or like a. Oh, never mind. I'm gonna stop with the wife jokes.
Yeah.
And we all know which wife made it out.
It's Robin.
Sobbin' Robin. Now, Maris forces me to watch these. I wouldn't of my own volition, for I think it is stupid.
Yeah.
But I'm into it.
After the season of The Sister Wife, I'm probably going to do season 1 of 90 Day Fiancé.
I'm here for it. I like the early seasons of 90 Day.
Yeah.
The later ones have become very weird.
Yeah, and I prefer reality TV shows with, like, ugly people. I don't like it when it's, like, people trying to be famous.
Hot, yeah.
Yeah.
No, we want your normal. We want a Danielle and Muhammad is what we want.
Yes, I do. I really like it when they look like real people.
Yes, me too. And where you're like, ooh, girl. Mm-hmm. And everyone's getting catfished. And married for green cards. It's very good drama. Yeah. But that's all the business I have for today. And if all you can do to support this podcast is listen, well, let me tell you, I appreciate... Oh, one little detail. We're on fucking YouTube now.
Yeah, YouTube.
And you may be going, oh boy, I get to see your head. No.
Soon.
I'm probably going to do one episode of this podcast a month on our YouTube channel, which will be linked in the description. But I know a lot of you have requested to listen to the podcast on YouTube, and you can now.
Yeah.
And if you are listening to this on YouTube and you are a new subscriber,
Hey.
Hello.
Hey.
We love you. And join our Discord.
Yeah.
In our Discord, we talk about cases. I take case suggestions. We just did a Secret Santa. That was super fun. I get on voice chats. You could talk to me if you fucking... I don't know why you'd want to, but you can. You can show me your dog. I love that.
I prefer the cats.
You can show your kitty babies, your lizard babies,
Meow, meow.
bird babies, don't care.
Yo,
your
those are
real
cute.
babies,
Yeah.
show them too. Show me what you had for dinner. Yes, I still like seeing
Not the
them kind
poo.
of posts.
I don't. No.
Poo?
Yeah, like after you eat.
Well, no one's showing that, you loon.
I know. Okay, I'm stupid.
Poor Maris.
Yeah.
You've been having a tough time,
Yeah,
my baby.
yeah.
It's okay. You sat through a true crime case. For those of you who have never listened before, if you're new, my husband Maris doesn't like true crime.
No.
Can you explain why?
Mostly because it's really sad.
Yeah.
It's always some ladies getting murdered.
Yeah.
And I'd rather watch, 90 Day Fiancé or hear about aliens, honestly.
Yeah. So also, if you've noticed, I don't understand why you guys are true crime, and then on Monday you cover paranormal stuff. It's because Maris likes the paranormal stuff.
I never want to hear about crime again.
No, but you will sometimes
I
because you
will.
help me.
Oh, yeah, I'm here to ruin it.
You're here to fill in for Willow when she's sleepy. You know, y'all, she's a mom. She's got a toddler. It's a lot. So, and we're old and our kids are grown.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just wanted to take a minute to say hi to all the new YouTube people.
Yeah.
Tell your friends.
Yeah. Tell your enemies.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. And as per usual, you know where to direct your hate mail. But just know that I do laugh at it first. But no, really. I get mostly overwhelmingly very nice messages, and I read every single one, unless it goes to my spam folder and I can't find it, and that's not my fault.
Right.
I get a lot of messages, but I really appreciate them, and I try and answer as many as I can. So for suggestions and stuff like that, I would prefer if you join our Discord, because it's easier for me to remember, especially if I see you talking to me all the time. But other than that, I'm gonna go now. This was a long episode.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Us on your social media platform of choice. Linktree/cruelty has all of the links. Check out our Patreon for exclusive episodes, merch, ad-free episodes, live ghost hunts, and much more. Please be sure to subscribe. New episodes are uploaded weekly. Thank you so much. See you next time. Music and production by Libby.